running across a dam in the Peak District, running down International Drive, Florida, the Brooklyn Bridge, New York City, running through the Sierra Leone streets, all because of running. But really, what does running mean to a runner? Hello and welcome to the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy. So I hope you're all well and welcome to this week's show. So I just want to take stock before we go through our new exciting guests that we have lined up to come on the show in the coming weeks. But let's just take stock at this point and let's focus on a question which I personally find completely and utterly fascinating. And it's something that I've been asking on the show so far of all of our guests, just to try and understand if there's any common perspectives around this. But, you know, so far throughout the podcast, I think we've been really lucky to have a huge variety of guests, variety of sort of experiences and locations throughout the world. And I found that the answer to this question is very different depending on who the person is. But I find it absolutely fascinating. So in this episode, I just wanted to focus on two perspectives that we've had so far, because I think it's really important to really rein it in and take some more of this information back and see how we can use it to pay forward and share that experience that we've already heard in these ongoing episodes. So let's head over to hear what Helen had to say when she was asked this question. What does running mean to you?
It just means so much to me, really. It's ingrained in a way in who I am at the moment, and I feel fortunate that I've been able to run consistently for 6 years now, and I don't know when that journey will end. Fingers crossed I can keep running for the foreseeable future for the long time. I'd love to be running in my 60s and 70s. Who knows? But yeah, it's ingrained in who I am, and it physically, it keeps me fit. It helps me keep the weight off because I love food, as we said before. Mentally, it gives me the greatest space to think. When I run, I can either think about everything, and I almost put the world to rights in my own mind, and I can figure out solutions, and it sort of puts priorities on problems, and sort of just puts a sense of order on things, and I can think about things. That it gives me the space to think about things. But equally, when I run, sometimes I don't think about anything. Yeah. And it just gives me the freedom to think about nothing and enjoy the world around me. That sort of sense of mindfulness. If you're into that kind of thing, I am, and I really enjoy it. That sort of sense of just feeling, enjoying the moment, and actually not thinking about worries and hassles and work and kids and one of those, anything else besides. Actually, just that sense of space. Headspace.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, Helen, to see if anyone listening to this episode wants to give us some feedback on that and get other people's perspectives, because I will sit here and say I totally understand and agree with what you just said, because actually sometimes there's nothing and it's just that nothing and being in the moment. But actually that other bit you mentioned about, I think you said prioritizing things in the right order for what they need to, in terms of what needs to be dealt with. Being an injured runner right now, lacking that running, you should see how certain things in my life can fall apart because of the lack of that. So I totally understand what you're saying, and it'll be really interesting to all the listeners out there. Why don't you comment on this on anywhere, whatever platform you're listening, and just reference this question, because what does running mean to you? And what Helen said there, and what I agree with about, you can be thinking about nothing, but it can be thinking about prioritizing your things in your day or your week, whatever you do. And let's see what you guys think. Give us a little comment if you want to on that. That would be interesting to hear. Okay, so as I mentioned there, I can completely relate to Helen a lot, because it's so important for me and my mental health, and also that freedom that mentality of having freedom and that awareness and self-awareness to perhaps let go of those thoughts as well. But also, Helen talks a lot about food there, and I know a lot of runners, and I'm sure you do listening, that are foodies as well. And it also does always keep our weight in check as well. But, Helen's perspective there, I'll completely back it up, like I say, just in that point. So that's the first perspective I wanted to focus on. Now let's head over to Ian Morgan's show and let's hear what he had to say when he was asked this question. B, but what does running mean to you?
Wow. For me, it's become a lifestyle. So it's more than something I do. It's actually my lifestyle. I mean, how cool is that? I couldn't even imagine that, like saying that a few years ago. The strangest part is I never set out for this to happen. This was not a plan. This was not a goal. It just kind of happened and I fell into it. But yeah, so running for me is, I mean, a lot of people say it's their meditation, it's their time out, it's for their health, for their mental and physical health. But yeah, for me, it's like, it's like brushing my teeth. It's like having sleeping. It's like eating. It's part of my lifestyle. I enjoy it so much that I can't imagine it not being part of my day,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And certainly there's a meditative aspect to it that I really enjoy, especially with the ultra side. The training has taken me to some amazing places. I mean, right now I'm looking out here, and about 5 kilometers away out the window here, there's the Andes Mountains. Obviously, if you push the apartment buildings aside a bit where I am, and just over the back of that, there's the border to Argentina. You can see the highest mountain in South America. It's over 6,000 meters. So like I can be out here, within 5K running on the road. I'm at the foot of the Andes and I'm in the mountains. And I will be doing that tomorrow morning. So even better. And it just blows me away to have the ability to be able to move my body to take me to these incredible places. From the Europe,
I relate to that massively.
Yeah, I mean, from the Peak District or the South Downs in the UK, the rolling hills, the countryside on like a misty day, it's just like has its own beauty. The European Alps, the Andes, Chilean Andes, the flat dry trails of Californian coast. There's just so many different experiences out there. So yeah, it's like ingrained in my life so much now, my lifestyle, that I just see it as being a part of what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I completely hear everything you're saying there, and I relate to that massively because I was asked that question once before, which is why I put it in the podcast. And my answer was the places that I end up going because of running, the experience I get, I'm there because of running, but it has absolutely nothing to do with running, what I get out of it.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And, you probably can relate to that a little bit as well.
Exactly, because let's be honest, as a runner, if you just wanted the physiological changes, you could go and do this on a treadmill. I mean, and you could run a lot less and actually probably get a much better benefit without the wear on your body. But yeah, I mean, look at the experiences you have. Anyone that's been out in the outdoors, I think, can relate to that.
Okay, so as you've just heard, a great perspective there from Ian. And I want to pick up on what he says there right at the beginning about it being a lifestyle and that he never really set out for it to happen. And for me personally, I love this perspective because I don't know if you personally or if you know any runners, but I'm not saying that I necessarily set out ever to become a runner. But what I've got out of it is huge. And when Ian says that, it wasn't the goal. And if you listen to the whole episode, it goes into more depth about that. And I think it was never really that goal for him. And it wasn't for me. And I'm sure it wasn't for you. If you'd have asked me that, you asked me what I'm doing now, when I sort of was playing football and played at 18 years old and was still taking it fairly seriously, I was just not a runner. the training and races, like Ian points out there, where he's been, what he's seen, what he gets to experience, it just is completely amazing that running has this ability. And I say it there, I say it on that episode as well. It has that ability to take you to places that you never otherwise would have gone. And I think what I say to Ian is always been my sort of main answer, is that what you tend to get out of it when you are there in those places. I think about my Ironman a lot, actually. When I was doing the training for it, I did a half Ironman and went to Exmoor National Park in the UK, and it's a place, a part of the world where I'd never been. And my dad is a huge steam train enthusiast, and just down the road from where the bike drop off was on the Saturday was the local town of Minehead, and we went over and went to the steam railway there and the seaside town, and I had this awesome day with my dad that I think I would have never otherwise had that particular experience if I hadn't have been in that world of doing that Ironman and running, and they got into this life. So I think, when Ian talks about that and the places and the beauty that you get to see sometimes, I'd have never seen Wimbleball sort of Lake and Exmoor National Park. I don't think I would have been planning to go there anytime soon without having been involved in the UK half Ironman 70.3 then. So, that was all part of a process for me, and it really was a place that I got to go and see. So, I think Ian and Helen's perspectives there, I think, are two that I personally can relate to, and I think a lot of people could get a lot out of just listening to that. And I do get asked it a lot, as mentioned. So, go back to that little intro that I did at the beginning, running across a dam in the Peak District. That's Lady Barrow Reservoir is where I'm being specific there. And, the the bouncing bomb from the war, and, how that, the dam busters, that was there where they tested it. And when I did it the first time, it was an anniversary, and we had flyovers, and that got me thinking about my family and my granddad who was in the RAF, and it just got me thinking big time. And that experience of running there in that particular location, very popular these days, back then in 2014, it was somewhere that I hadn't been, and somewhere where I guess I hadn't planned to go. Now I like to go back there as often as the calendar will allow, in terms of racing that particular event, and also going to be there at race weekend. Running down International Drive in Florida, I mean, very commercialized place, but I love the whole Disney experience, and one day I hope to run the sort of Disney marathons weekend, if that makes sense. So it's almost like a back-to-back day ultra marathon in total, I guess, if you do the 5, the 10, the half marathon and the full marathon. But I was there holiday, and I was running every day that year in 2014, boiling Florida heat, mid-July, and it's one of those where International Drive, you want to give it a go. You want to have a little run down there. You want to explore the local area, and it's not somewhere where I don't think I would have ran, and I don't think I'd have seen some of the things that I saw that day. Brooklyn Bridge, if anyone's ever done it, what a place to run. You literally, if you run the whole bridge over and back, you'll get about a 5K. It's absolutely, what an awesome experience. I did it at sunrise in 2017, and it was absolutely epic, and I'll do it every time that I ever head back there. Running the streets of Sierra Leone, I really wouldn't have got that opportunity if I hadn't been a runner. That was involved. I was involved in something called the Hope of Life Tour, and I got to take place in that. So, all of this is because of running, like I say there. And what does it really mean? Well, just to elaborate on Ian and Helen's points there, for me, running is actually a platform for me to pay forward what I've learned as a personal trainer, fitness coach, running coach. And in my own experiences, it gives me a real platform to help others and show them that they too can succeed in a running journey, if that is indeed what they want to, because I just didn't believe I could run. And now I've achieved all the bits that I've achieved, which of course, compared to some of the guys that we're interviewing is nowhere near in terms of experience. But for me, I'm proud. And I would tell any of you listening to this podcast to own what it is that you have achieved, and believe in yourself and what it is that you want to achieve with your running goal, because anyone can do this. And I love to pay it forward. So running does mean a lot to me when it comes to helping others and showing them that they too can achieve something really spectacular for them on a personal level. It's also my way of life. Ian talks about a lifestyle. It is my way of life. And having gone through a massive bout of injury, I can just tell you the frustrations that I've had when I've not been able to run, and how other things get affected in my life. I've mentioned it there with Helen, you know, things can get really affected in your own life when you're not running. And I think what's important, the message I want to get is that it is a way of life, and the way of life without it sucks. But I could argue that's how this podcast was born. My passion for running is not just in me physically doing it. It's in the passion of helping others, watching others succeed, watching the amazing journey out there and the community that we talk about. And we talk about it on Helen's interview, the full interview, and Ian's, you know, that community, and everyone else who's been on the show so far just backs that up. The community is so important, and it's such a big thing for us as ultra runners and runners. This community we get from it is just unbelievable. And honestly, if you're thinking about running and you happen to come across this episode, just get out there, get amongst it, get amongst the people. It's amazing. And you know what? For me, lots of people have competition as another point that is important to them. And you know, what does running mean to them? Competition. At times for me, running is really competitive, but not with anyone else. It's me versus me and where I'm at and my personal best and my journey and what I'm up to. And I think that's really key and important for people to get that and understand that you do start to develop and evolve as a runner, and within that period of time and within that time that you grow within yourself, you start to see the self-drive that you've got and the passion you've got to better yourself and be improving, and a growth mindset. And for me, that's been really crucial in my journey. And I honestly cannot wait to overcome this bout of injury that I'm going through and get back out there. So what does running mean to a runner? Well, how long's a piece of string? Like the two guys and the two perspectives we've just focused on said, there are many things that running will be seen as, and there are many things that people use running for. And if we can just pay forward, for me, that's one of the things that this platform is here, this podcast is here to try and share those experiences and show people what is out there through running. So, you know, it's a great platform for mental health, physical health, friendship groups, self-drive, self-growth, paying it forward, you name it. There's so many reasons. And as we continue this podcast, it will only continue to give us more perspectives on what that is. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. Slightly different again. The guests are all lined up, ready, and they're coming in the future weeks again. We've got some amazing speakers lined up. I cannot wait to share these interviews with you. And but if you did find today's episode interesting, or you want to go and listen to Ian and Helen's full episodes, please do. But if you found it interesting and thought there's someone you know that could really benefit from what it is we've said here today, then please share this episode on and share the link. If you are listening or watching, please do give us a rating and a comment and some feedback. That'd be much appreciated. And of course, like we said there with Helen's snippet, if there is anything that you want to sort of say regarding your own journey in regards to what does running mean to you, feel free to mention it. We certainly have had listeners come on as guests, having met them in person at various events. It's been great to have them. So, you know, why not feedback? Let us know what it is that you think running means to you. And there's no right, there's no wrong. So it's really good to get those perspectives. So do share it on. And I really hope that you enjoyed the show, and I really hope that you can meet us again here next time on the Ultra Running Podcast with me, Coach Marshy.